Please welcome our next speakers, Dillon Gustafson and Tim Stratum. Today they will be presenting their session, Streamlining the Prospect to Cash Process with Microsoft Dynamics 365. Please stick around after Dillon and Tim's session for a live Q&A.
Imagine being at a conference where attendees are speaking different languages. Translators are necessary for everyone to communicate with each other. Software integration is like having translators who ensure everyone understands one another. Each translator represents an interface or API that allows different software systems to communicate effectively. This is essential for businesses that want to efficiently run a synchronized organization. Throughout today's presentation, Tim and I will highlight streamlining the prospect to cash process within Dynamics 365 in dual write to support a synchronized organization like a synchronized conference. We will focus on Dynamics sales and Dynamics supply chain, although this integration is essential with service as well. We are so grateful to be here. Thank you so much, DynamicsCon. To take it back a step, my name is Dillon Gustafson, and I am a technical specialist at Microsoft focusing on Dynamics customer engagement applications. I have over 5 years of technical sales experience at Fortune 100 companies, including Microsoft and Oracle. My interest in sales first began during a summer spent rotating on sales desk at Goldman Sachs. In addition to experience in financial services, I also have experience in manufacturing, where I spent a summer working for Emerson in Shanghai. I'm grateful for the global opportunities that I have had, including being born in Australia and living in Singapore. This global outlook has helped me to better understand my customers who come from different backgrounds and experiences. Additionally, I am certified in Azure AI, customer insights, sales, and business value management. I currently live in Dallas, Texas, with California roots, and am a proud mom to a dog named Presley and a cat named Priscilla.
Thanks, Dillon. So Tim Satrom, I am a D365 supply chain management technical specialist here at Microsoft. Over my 16 years at Microsoft, I started with Great Plains, a long time ago, then moving to AX and F&O as an escalation engineer in our support organization. All of that time has been spent with supply chain and manufacturing. I've experienced just about everything within AX and F&O through the years, as I was part of the first team trained after we acquired WMS and TMS from Blue Horseshoe. Also, when we acquired asset management from Dynaway, I was a SME within support for both of those products. I moved after all that time in support. I moved to sales, where I had a concentration of supply chain management and Power Platform, and continue my learning as much as possible. Where I've become a certified Power Platform solution architect and a D365 supply chain management functional consultant. I did take a gap year recently to do a D365 implementation at a clothing company out of California, where I got to experience things from a brand new perspective, doing it from the customer side of things after, over 16 years of doing it from this side. As part of it, I was in charge of inventory integrations for both stores and for the online store for the company. After it went live, which brought on my interest in dual write, which we're talking about today. Away from work, I spend all my time at the rink, the diamond, or the football field with my wife and 2 boys and our spoiled little dog.
Thank you, Tim. So now we are both available during the presentation, so feel free to put questions in the chat for us to answer, and we'll also have time at the end to address any outstanding questions as well. So what even is dual write? Well, Dual Write is the formal name for the integration between Dynamics Customer Engagement and Dynamics Finance and Operation applications. It enables communication and a synchronized flow of data between CE and F&O. Whether you work in sales, finance, supply chain, IT, leadership, etc., Dual Write ensures that your teams have real, true transparency so they can make the best and most appropriate decisions. Imagine promising a sale to a client with a specific delivery date, yet there's no present inventory. Dual Write allows your business to avoid these types of issues, ensuring your teams are putting their best foot forward with your customers. Have you ever found yourself in a situation like this before? I'll let you reflect on this for a few seconds. Okay, let's back it up for a second and think about why Dual Write even came about. So Dynamics customer engagement applications are built on Dataverse, while Dynamics finance and operation applications are built on Azure SQL. So you're working with leads, contacts, and accounts in Dynamics Sales, while you're working with prospects and customers in Dynamics Finance and Operations. So companies face challenges using these different entities properly when integrating across the full Dynamics ecosystem. So now with Dual Write, companies don't have to worry about those challenges through this low-code, no-code infrastructure. The prospect to cash process is unified and streamlined. This image captures the general strategy that we are analyzing today, using Dual Write to create a holistic Dynamics experience. I previously mentioned the differing terminology of entities across CE and F&O, so contacts, accounts, customers, prospects. Dual Write actually harmonizes these common concepts without deviating from the natural flow respectfully. Other key design principles to note include minimal to no user training required for native users, out-of-the-box experience for admins, transparency of operations data on Dataverse. So once you have operations data in Dataverse, imagine what you can do with it. For example, you can easily access this data from other Dynamics applications and Power Apps. Now, what kind of benefits arise from unlocking this capability? Well, first and foremost, an end-to-end Dynamics experience. Additionally, digital feedback loops. And then last but definitely not least, support for new markets and strategies as your company evolves and the technology needs to evolve with it. To better contextualize it, here are a few key scenarios to consider across your business. Integrated customer and vendor masters for one source of truth, unified product experience, on-hand inventory availability so you can set proper expectations with your clients, in-house assets for servicing, access to financial and tax reference data, which is, of course, always essential, prospect to cash within D365 sales, which will be highlighted in our walkthrough later on, and procurement with D365 field service, so your field agents have what they need when they're out in the field. These are all existing mappings that have been pre-built and available within the Dual Write ecosystem today. Which scenario are you looking to enhance within your organization? Since we are focusing on the prospect to cash flow, I want to go over key entities that will be highlighted in Tim's walkthrough. The prospect to cash business flow relies on quotations and order processing. You'll create a quote in Dynamics Sales, convert it to an order in Dynamics Supply Chain, produce an invoice in Dynamics Finance. And the main entities that will be used in Dynamics Sales are contact and account, while the main entities in F&O are prospect and customer. So let's go ahead and see this in action. I'll go ahead and pass it to my teammate, Tim, to walk through Dual Write and the prospect to cash flow.
Thank you, Dillon. Before we get started, as Dillon mentioned, we're going to work with prospect to cash, specifically focusing on the prospect piece, which was the most recent addition to the pre-built mappings. First, some things to point out regarding the integration. Even if you have the mapping set up, you will not see the integrations take place unless you have your accounts receivable parameters set. So within this page, we can see here, I have my integrate prospects turned on. I have my copy quotation data turned on. Something else that we need to set up as part of this is our default relationship type of prospect. So we're not setting it up to automatically be a customer right away, or obviously not a vendor right away. We want it to be set up as a prospect. Let's step through an example where we create the prospect from the F&O side. From the all prospects form, you can see here, I'll go ahead and click new. For my prospects, I'll give it a name. In this case, I'm going to call it prospect organization. I'll give it a default address and then save it. The other option I could have chosen here instead of organization would be a type of person. The difference we'll talk about when we get into CE, but you can think of an organization as an account and in CE, and a person as a contact. So that's how we're mapping these values between the two systems. Next, I'll update the address so it can be used for delivery and invoice, as well as the initial setting of business that we had already set up. And we're doing this as something with there's multiple ways to store your address or your party information within the system. There's different mappings available. There's a mapping within supply chain management that will get all of the, the minimum fields to integrate between the systems, or you can use the new global address book mapping, and it'll pull all of this information and have it available within the system. So here I can see my new prospect. It has an account number of 47, along with the name assigned and my address info, the different types. Like I mentioned, we can have that information flow back and forth between the systems. So we have all the different purposes of our address already assigned. Next, I can add a contact to my prospect. So I created a prospect org, which you can think of as an account within CE. Now I'm going to create a contact, which will map to that contact within CE. So here I've created a contact for my prospect org. So we'll take a look at it within CE, but this is going to be mapped to the contacts section within CE, and our prospect organization is going to be mapped to the account. Flipping over to CE now, I can go to my accounts and I can find my prospect organization. You can note here I have account number 47, which is flowed from F&O into CE and created that account for me. If I click into that account, I can see the owner in the upper right hand as dual right, the account that I set up to have this information flow back and forth between the systems. My account name and number you should recognize, prospect organization, account number 47, as well as my relationship type of prospect. It's not a customer or a vendor. Currently it is just a prospect. If I click on the associated contacts, I can see the contact that I added to my prospect record within F&O. So that is already tied within CE as well. Similarly, if I go to my contacts page within CE, I can see the contact that I created for my prospect organization, and this cross mapping flows between the two systems. So I have that mapping that, they're mapped between the two seamlessly. Now I'll go to my quotes within CE and create a new quote using my prospect organization account, which was integrated over from an F&O prospect. After adding my name, the name of the quote of just new one, and my customer prospect org, I'll click save. Here I have my new quote. Up at the top here, I can see the name of it, new one, and you can see my quote number ending in D4 and assigned to my prospect organization. And note that the status here up in the upper right is in draft. That's my sales quotation header. And next I'll click to add a product. I'll add an old Surface Pro 128 gigabyte, from our old sample data for anybody that's been using F&O for years. Select the shipping site of site 1 and warehouse 11, and then save and close. Returning to finance and operations, we'll now go to the all quotations page and search for the quote that we created within CE. Pasting that the quote ID that we pulled from CE, we're able to narrow the view here, and we can see that the quote includes prospect ID 47, and the quotation status in this case is created. Because it is still a quote for a prospect, we do not have a customer assigned yet. Flipping back into CE, I can now choose to activate my quote. What this does is, and you can see in the upper right now that my quote is now activated, won't be editable. So this has confirmed my quote and set it to be active. It's no longer editable unless I do a revision to it. Next step, I'll go ahead and create an order from this quote as well, and then be able to click that next. In the upper right, you can see my order was created successfully. Because I've now created an order, my prospect has been automatically converted from a prospect type of prospect to a prospect type of customer now in both CE and F&O. So here is my new sales order ending in V7 that has also flowed back to F&O as well. To take a look at this and how the changes flow back for the quote and for the prospect and the customer, however you want to refer to them now. If I refresh the quotations page that we were viewing before, you can now see our prospect convert to a customer. So you can see in the upper right, I'm clicking refresh, and my prospect information has disappeared from this record, and now my prospect organization account has turned into a customer. And I'll just back up the slide so you can see it again. My prospect information has been replaced by customer information because they are now a customer. They now have an order. The other thing to note here is that the quotation status has been updated to confirmed. Returning to the all prospects list page, we can see that the type ID of the prospect organization has changed from prospect to customer. And that kind of completes the flow between the two systems as it relates to the prospects. So that ends kind of our walkthrough focusing on the newest piece of the mapping, which is prospects. We've taken a look at how the integration treats the different types of prospects within F&O and how it maps into CE. So with that, let me turn it back over to Dillon to take a look at that mapping.
Great. Thanks so much, Tim. Appreciate you walking through the prospect to cash flow in Dynamics. So this graphic actually captures that general flow that Tim just covered, aligning similar concepts to the differing terminology across CE and F&O. So like Tim said, prospect type of organization maps to account in CE, and prospect type of person maps to contact in CE. So dual write ultimately enables a powerful prospect to cash flow supported through a single unified D365 experience. There are 3 things that I do want you to remember from this presentation today. First and foremost, dual write allows near real-time data sharing, making D365 a comprehensive solution for a business. Second, data is shared via the Dataverse, enabling scale through Power Platform capabilities. How else would you use this data? Would you build a Power App? And third, dual write infrastructure is designed as low code, no code, experience to ensure out-of-the-box and custom success. Plus, it supports both online and offline capabilities, which is key for those on the go or if there's an outage. And I just mean a power outage. So, looking at the bigger picture and what this means for businesses, it's truly essential for a business to run on a synchronized end-to-end organization where front office and back office employees have access to real-time information, making informed decisions. So you're not promising things that you can't necessarily fulfill, and you can promise things to make your clients happy. Additionally, it's extremely helpful for forecasting so you can manage inventory and delivery properly. Thus, once again, meeting your customers' needs and expectations, maximizing revenue, minimizing costs. As always, Microsoft has a dedicated Learn site to stay on top of the changes and updates to dual write. Feel free to reference it to stay up to date on the dual write roadmap. This includes features, bug fixes, optimizations, and security updates. So with dual write and a streamlined prospect to cash flow, Dynamics CE and F&O and your organization can communicate effectively, like translators at conferences who ensure everyone understands each other. On behalf of Tim and I, thank you so much for your time. Once again, thank you so much, DynamicsCon, for having us. And now we will go ahead and open the floor to questions.
Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Good morning, wherever you're at. Any questions out there?
We got one question. How quickly does dual write move data between the app?
No, it's instantaneous. Like I showed, I know it was slides in the demo, but it is within seconds. It's not going to be a 5 to 10 minute delay like it used to be.
I'll go ahead and also write in the chat near real time / instantaneous. I hope I spelled that right.
CE does have legal entities in it, and I'll just repeat the question. Does CE utilize legal entities as in F&O? Yes, it's referenced within CE. So when you have it set up, it'll have USMF as the linked entity, and you connect those via the setup. So it will utilize that. And I brought a few questions just in case. So one thing I've been asked, if live synchronization is paused and then resumed, does it still follow the sequence of changes? So an example being something, a field in F&O is changed from A to B to C, customer engagement data once it goes live again, once the live synchronization starts again, it will also go through the A to B to C. It'll stack those changes.
One fun question is, what is your go-to breakfast item? Mine's definitely breakfast burritos. We also have another question, but if you want to answer yours, Tim.
A good old ham and cheese omelet is always good.
Delicious. So we have another question. You would need 1-for-1 CE legal entity and F&O legal entity?
Now you're getting into a gray area. You can do different setups. like for my setup, I have, for simplicity's sake, I have directly CE to F&O, but you can connect multiple legal entities.
Okay. Can you control which products are enabled for dual write? That is, would you send your entire inventable to CE? So or can you limit only to products that are related to CE quotes?
Yeah, it's just referring to the table name in the background. You can add a filter to your mapping so that you only send, if you want to add a filter where you're only doing a certain item group, you can set that up so that only those items are being enabled, or can you limit only to products that are related to CE quotes? So you'd want to have some sort of identifier. I said item group, that's probably the easiest. But if you have some kind of identifier, you can add a filter to your mapping. Good question.
Also, I see that means like inventory table. I started creating a new word. Inventable.
I like the old AX table names compared to the old Great Plains table names. It was much easier to understand versus GL 20,000 or GL 30,000, understanding if it's a invent table.
Do we run into any security issues in this process?
Another good question. There is some prereqs on who can set this up, and making sure that you have setup enabled for users so that when they write information to the table that it gets picked up by dual write. So you need to make sure that the user setup for dual write has the proper permission so that it can see the tables and be able to write to them. And that documentation is included online as part of the prereqs.
People say to wait for 7 seconds of silence before giving up on questions. I'm willing to wait 7 minutes.
What's your favorite pet, Dillon?
Okay, before I answer that, it looks like we have another question. I'm not familiar with CE, but considering it as a starting point for our sales group, can you initiate customer payments in CE and have those write to F&O, or is the whole collections workflow in F&O?
I got to ask you, Dillon, on the CE side.
It was only 1 minute. Can you initiate customer payments in CE? So you can create quotes and orders and such in CE. So depending on what you mean by customer payments, that may suffice, and then that would flow into F&O. However, if you're running like an actual electronic payment system, that would be embedded somewhere within CE or an F&O, depending on how you want that set up. So I'm just doing my best to interpret the question. Do you have anything to add, Tim?
Yeah. So if you were to collect the payments in CE, you could write those back to F&O. I don't recall if there's an existing mapping for it. You could create a custom mapping. In our scenario, kind of the full built out process, you would do that in F&O and have the completed invoice flow back to CE.
Yes, I just remembered. I don't know how I forgot, but there is the invoice entity out of the box in CE or D365 sales. So theoretically, people can just use quotes, orders, and invoices within sales, but with dual write and using the end-to-end platform, you would most likely have that flow back from F&O into CE, presented in the invoice entity potentially. Oh, and my favorite pet. Well, now I'm both a dog and a cat mom, so I feel bad saying that I'm obsessed with dogs, but I am. I go to the dog park like every day. It's crazy. Tim is a proud owner of a sweet little dog. Millie, Millie, Millie.
Yep. Only dogs for me. Products can initiate in sales. Typically, when people set this up, they're looking to have, you know, their finance and operations as the single truth, and so having it set up as the location that you're setting everything up. But you can initiate a product in sales as well and have it flow back.
Yes, there's a full-blown product catalog entity within Dynamics Sales. If there are any Elvis Presley fans out there, my dog's name is Presley and my cat's name is Priscilla.
The link I put in the chat was regarding the filtering information. Gives examples of how to do that. What are your go-to online resources for CE?
I can go ahead.
Yeah, I'll let you drop a link out there.
I can drop it.
Can you explain the no-code, low-code setup for this? Are you using Power Automate, Power Apps for the low-code, no-code aspect? It's using Dataverse as the back-end piece and writing directly to the tables. It's not Power Automate necessarily, and I would say it's not necessarily Power Apps, but you know, Dataverse is definitely Power Apps. It's kind of the back-end piece of it. It's using the entities that are already pre-built in Dataverse as the location to store this info and having it flow back and forth.
I went ahead and dropped the general overview for dual write in the chat, and then frequently asked questions link as well. However, once you access that overview link, you'll be able to see a ton of different dual write resources, including the FAQs.
Any other questions we can help with? Dillon, I don't know if you have it up, but if you can also drop the what's new and what's new and what's coming link.
I can do that. Yep, that link enables you to stay up to date on everything changing, enhancing around dual write. Yes, I am using Copilot in my day-to-day. It actually helped me with my Limbic opening and close for this presentation.
Yeah, definitely. As Microsoft employees, we're customer zero on it, so we are definitely using it every day.
I use Copilot for sales and Outlook 24/7.
My biggest thing is I use it to find stuff that I know I've looked at before, and I misplace my documents, and it can help me track down the information I'm looking for. Probably.
I will say Copilot in general helps a lot with research as well. So given that Tim and I are in pre-sales, we're working with a lot of different clients, and we often have to get up to speed on what the business is, how they work with their customers, etc. So Copilot helps us easily navigate research.
And somebody mentioned Power Apps and Power Automate. I use it in there all the time. You know, if you can basically ask Copilot to make your app or your automation, give it detail of what you want it to do. You know, start with a table with these fields and this information, and have it build out the app or flow quickly and easily, and You just got to kind of fix what's missing at that point. So love it in apps and automate. Getting slightly off topic, but all right. Looks like we can go to the breakout room. So thank you, everyone who joined and listened in. Dillon, would you like to say goodbye as well?
Yes, thanks so much, everyone, for your time. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Tim or I. Obviously, I focus primarily on customer engagement, so sales, customer insights, and Tim focuses on F&O or supply chain. So, yep. You can add us on LinkedIn. You can ping us on this Umbrella app, however you see best fit.
Thank you.
Thank you.